114th Block Talks, we speak with Stella Achenbach, founder of the Alana Project and Council steward of Unlock Protocol, who talks about the current reality of DAOs. I'm your host, Mauricio Magaldi, and this is Blockdrops, your weekly digest on blockchain for business. These news are not a form of endorsement, sponsorship, or encouragement for consumption, and are meant for educational purposes only. All right, everybody. I'm here with Stella Achenbach, who's going to tell us who she is and what she does with blockchain. Stella, welcome to BlockTalks.
Hi, Mauricio. Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone. My name is Stella Achenbach. I'm a Taoist. That's my real passion, and not in a Buddhist sense, I guess. I work at Unlock Protocol DAO now a little bit over a year as a steward, first as lead steward, and now as steward of the council, which consists currently of 5 stewards. And I'm also the founder of the Alana Project, which is a project in which creators can specifically learn more about blockchain and Web3 in a very intuitive and very practical way.
So, you came into the scene, in my timeline, and a chat on a post on LinkedIn about your view on DAOs. And the audience of the show knows how much I love DAOs and I believe in the model, but I'm also very pragmatic. And my perspective is that DAOs work, they only have 3 shortcomings. They're usually not decentralized or autonomous or organized. But there are embodiments and manifestations of DAOs that are trying to get there. And I think the work you do, which is very based in reality, in human dynamics, is something that I really appreciate. So I have to ask, how did you end up becoming a Taoist? And then we can explore what that means to you in terms of the journey so far.
Yeah, well, that's actually it's a really good question because my background is actually in design. So I studied fashion design at the University of Applied Arts, which feels miles away from where I'm now. But I actually want to claim it's the same thing in a weird way, because in design we study principles of design. And if you believe a fantastic book that I read a few years ago, it's called Are We Human? An archaeology of design. It's all about design artifacts. So imagine us as being designers of our environments, of our worlds, or world, planet, whatever. And we as humans, we leave impact everywhere where we go, right? There's, if you look at planet Earth from space, you see all of these, I want to say, quadrants on the planet, right? That can be fields, or it can be, recycling industries, or whatever it is. And all of these are human artifacts, and all of them were designed at some point, right? And so what we're doing in Web3, by redesigning how we work together, how we collaborate, how we decentralize technology and make it accessible for everyone, it's just another process of design in a way. At least this is how I look at it, right? So for me, it doesn't matter if it's a fashion piece, if it's, a piece of graphic design, if it's a website, or if it is an organization. All of it needs designing. And you just said so nicely, like, one thing that DAOs tend to fail at is organization, right? Or organizing themselves. And also that can be done with design. So thinking about, like, yes, okay, so for example, our voting mechanisms or our governance, that's on chain and that's semi-automated. But the way on how we actually perform voting, or how we come to the moment that we make a decision about something, that's not very well designed, is it? So mostly when DAO people come in to reviewing proposals, they see this, tremendous amount of letters, and they're like, well, I guess I get back to it later. And then you have no voter participation because people are just hopelessly overwhelmed, right? So for example, giving people a framework, and framework is part of design, to say, like, hey, when you write a proposal, try to make it concise, stick to why you're doing this, how it benefits the DAO, why people should vote for it, right? And what will it cost them? And also don't withhold the risks. Tell people about the risk. That can usually be done in our claim one sheet of paper, right? That doesn't require a wall of text. So if we care for each other and design better proposals, for example, you would automatically increase voter participation because people wouldn't feel hopelessly overwhelmed. So instead of just trying to convince people to vote for something, how about we change the narrative and we actually make it about them preparing information so that they can digest it? Then you actually get people to vote.
I love that you arrived at this through the lenses of design. Usually, I've seen people that work in DAOs coming more from political sciences and even people who made well in crypto becoming community oriented, and then given their own self propelled studies, they become DAO organizers, leaders, participants. So it's an interesting combination. How do you feel that background has one led you into this? Because there's some overlap there, but also what are the things or the toolkits from being a designer that you feel put you in a position to contribute, to be interested first, but obviously, but to contribute in such a way? Because I like the way you prompted, why not make the DAO about them rather than make them about the DAO, which is very kind of user centric approach.
What led me into all of this was actually someone reaching out to me on Instagram and saying, "Hey," and this was like probably like a little bit over 6 years ago, saying like, "Hey, Stella, saw your digital fashion work. I was already in a more digital field of fashion. I had arrived there and was actually on my way of applying for game studio development. So something again like an evolution of this whole fashion idea." And yeah, and they said, "Hey, I saw your work. It looks really incredible. Don't you want to come into our community and compete for this like digital fashion thing?" And I was like, "Is this another scam?" you know And then I was like, well, they're not asking anything of me other than joining a community call. And at that point, very honestly, Mauricio, I had no idea what a community call is. I was just like, sounds strange, sounds weird, but maybe it's nice, I don't know. So I joined, and I had a really great experience in that community, and I really loved it there. And people seemed to be very aligned on the things that I did care about, because I just had gotten out of fashion because I was very frustrated with the industry and how it's like continuously been polluting our planet. And I was really like on the brink of just doing something different and doing it ideally digitally to pollute maybe a little bit less, although that's another topic for another time, I guess. And yeah, and kind of stumbled then into Web3 first through NFTs. So I was there, summer of NFTs. I sold a good bunch in collaboration with other artists. But then I was triggered because I thought like, wait, if we have all of these things in place and these new tools, can we do more with this? And this is when I started to really take an interest into reading more, and eventually founded my own project, because I thought maybe if there's something creative and aesthetically appealing to other creators, they would feel more inclined to learn about it in a practical way, right? And that seemed to work because people just joined. So I was like, oh, cool, I guess this is working. But as the community started to grow, I thought to myself, damn, but I have actually no plan in place, no further idea other than, making beautiful stuff together. And that felt to me a little bit empty. So I had a really, great mentor at the time. And I think in Web3, it's really like mandatory that you have someone that you feel you can trust and it can help you guide you along the way. And he said, you know what, Stella, maybe you should actually take the time to study with the Token Engineering Academy. And I was like, another thing I need to study. Okay, fine. So I went to a few sessions and I thought, wow, they have really like all of this knowledge right here, right now assembled, that I could learn and understand more how my community could become better, more optimized, right? And these studies with the Token Engineering Academy sparked a lot of other ideas. And a lot of them I have applied to my own community. And in a slightly transformed way, I've started to apply them to Unlock Protocol DAO. And transforming is because not every community fits into the same suit. It's like going on, going on a trip to essentially find your perfectly tailored suit. And this is another thing I feel we always underestimate. There's not like one rule book to every community. There's not one blueprint. You have to go in and make adjustments and listen to the people in that community and their needs and what they want this to be, right? If you're not ready to listen, then why are you even trying?
From the DAOs you know of, which are the ones that are the best examples of that active listening and engaging with the community? Do we have like a staple in the crypto space where we can point and say, "Wow, that one community is really doing it right in terms of their governance and their DAO governance"? What is your experience in scanning the market and realizing maybe the better question is, are there any?
Yeah, I don't think so. And this is not because there is a lack of trying. I think people try in their own ways, especially people who are into DAOs. I feel our passion is very, it's almost like an internal need for us to make this work, right? It's not just like, oh, let's do some fun stuff together and then maybe it can work. Like all of us that we're really into this, we really want to make it work. So I feel there's a lot of people who want to get it right. But I think this is where the background question you had before comes back in. Um, Either it's, or most often, it's people who are developers, right? Who have that background. So they're really strong on everything when it comes to the protocol. They're not so strong when it comes to being empathetic or listening really to wishes, because in their mind everything goes right immediately into that direction of, oh, you're offending my protocol right now, or you're, you're kind of like trying to come into my territory here. And so before even, a situation of like simultaneous listening could be happening, there's already this like offense situation that's taking place. That's one point. The other part is you have a lot of this problem in DAOs around popularity contests, right? So not necessarily someone is voted in because they know this person to be really good at this thing, and I mean not talking, I mean actually doing, right? Because guess what? There's a lot of talkers in the DAO space and not enough doers. So if you end up with a popularity contest that is consistently promoting the people who are talking the best and the loudest, then you don't get stuff done. That's another problem I see there, right? And I think these are things we need to tackle on any type of DAO, really. We need to get in and we need to make it, maybe it could be an anonymous vote, right? Maybe it wouldn't be about selecting person A, B, C by name, but it would be about, hey, there's this person, you know, blended out name and profile. These are their skills. We can verify those skills, right? And these are the skills we need, because we don't need the loudest person in the room to be, head of something, right? We need the person in charge who actually can get these things done. So that's something I've observed a lot and too many times. And I don't think there's anyone really out there who has figured this out 100%. I think we're all trying our best, but we're not quite there. And ourselves, by the way, completely included in that. Like us neither.
Which kind of brings me to my next question, which is a topic that I've explored across multiple DAOs, but I couldn't find a model that would not replicate the current state of democracy in the real world. And I'll explain myself. Usually, what you have in DAOs is that vote attribution is based on the amount of tokens that a particular voter or DAO member has. and they perform political maneuvers to make sure that their case wins, or their proposal wins, or they downvote a proposal or something to that effect, right? There's a huge amount of influence. And we've seen DAOs where there was such a concentration on voting power that the whale in question voted to drain the treasury to themselves, because it was such an influential vote that they could just put the proposal out, vote and enact the proposal, and then walk away with all of the tokens, right? And this is obviously not healthy if we're trying to explore a new governance paradigm, which is the DAOs. Um, I've seen DAOs that had on chain activity vote attribution, meaning the more you contribute to the DAO and can be proven on chain from your activity, whether you're trading more than everybody else, whether like you're voting on more proposals, there are other measurement mechanisms for vote attribution which can offset that wealth. It speaks to other types of wealth, like available time to do those things, which also can create some bias in the process. And there are other DAOs that have no weight on voting, like Joke DAO, which is the votes are per individual, which is somewhat similar to what you would see on a democratic society. Um, there are other spaces, like the decentralized governance on Cardano, which has representative democracy, which attributes votes to delegated representation, and then they are the ones who are voting on a series of governance actions. Um, in your experience, what were the other models, if there are many more, that you've seen that showed bigger or better promise in reflecting? And I know from your early response that not every collective, not every DAO works the same. So, is there an archetype of DAO for an archetype of vote attribution that we've developed over the recent years that makes sense? How's the state of voting attribution in DAOs as you've seen recently?
I think it's not looking so great. That was a very German response, right here, right there. I think so. What I've seen out there, I'm not very happy with it because it always goes back to popularity contests or to the fact that someone can buy more token off the market than another person. The reason for that is, in my opinion, because most of the protocols that we're talking about eventually had a token launch as an initial coin offer, right? An ICO. And well, that's their way of, keeping their revenues in check, right? So, in my opinion, the only way around this, and this is something that I started to think of with two of my colleagues, Grayscale and Ludra in Alana, is to go away from a one token decides it all model, meaning instead of allowing just everyone with a token to vote on something, make it about the people who actually contribute to the system, right? So you can have a two token idea in place where your membership NFT, for example, in ERC 721, decides that you can actually vote because you have been an active contributor, right? If that is not in place, then it doesn't matter how many tokens you own of the project. You can actually not vote because you don't know what's been going on. So if you cannot establish context, what makes you believe that you can actually vote on something, right? So there is a certain logic to that. And I think because we are looking always at the examples that we know and that we're very familiar with, like you said, like democracy in the real world, right? There are a few different models and those have been applied to blockchain and they might work here and there better or worse, but they're not really the perfect archetype yet either, right? So we have to go away from looking at these models that exist in the real world and now in our experimentation move away from them and try out new combinations of models. So I think the one that we want to implement next year into Alana, I think that's probably a good next experiment. And again, right? probably not a perfect solution, but at least it's a new experiment to see how that is evolving. Because the way people can accumulate the token for the most part is because most of it will be locked in the treasury. And so it essentially goes only out to people who contribute. It doesn't go just randomly out. And we get it back into the treasury by actually binding product to it. So we have the Alana magazine, we're working on Alana Boutique right now, and two more things. And if people spend that token on these things, then it also comes back to the treasury, or it could be burned. We're still figuring these details out. But I think it's time to not just play it safe. I know my mentor said before, don't change the system too much because it creates too much risk. And I agree with that. But at the same time, if we're not making bold moves, then what? you know?
I hear you. In terms of tooling, that's another thing that early on in the dawn of the DAOs, there was very little tooling, and they were very rudimentary. Even the vote tallying and measuring activity and who's on the DAO actually, like it was all a little bit kind of rustic, I guess. Over the years, we've seen a lot of improvement in that space, to the point where um, the Constitution DAO from 2022, when they try to buy the copy of the U.S. Constitution, was assembled in probably 3 days or something like this. I covered back when it happened, and it was a spectacular. It was also a spectacular loss for crypto because the treasury was public and the Citadel CEO could see how much money the DAO had. So he just outbid the DAO for that one bid. Um, but that's besides the point. My question to you is, in terms of DAO tooling, how far have we come? And are there any particular um, highlights you've seen lately that have made voting, participating, measuring of the DAO's decisions better over the recent years?
Because I know many of these people who are building these tools, I want to say yes. And I think, yes, we have made certain improvements, right? Because there's also more competition. When you have more competition around the market, automatically you start getting, let's call it sexier designs, right? Um, but to tell you the truth, I still think we're not quite there. And I'm saying this because at Unlock Protocol, we're actually implementing right now our own community dashboard into the website, because we felt it is not quite there. And the other problem that you have is, let's say we're we have person, we have Alex, right? Fictional person. And Alex is part of 5 different DAOs. And one DAO is doing their business on decent DAO, right? The other one, they are just sticking to tally. The next one, so you are asking that person to go for one DAO that they are part of, probably through 2, 3 external pages to conduct their business. It's just too much. People are already overwhelmed as it is with everything that's been going on in the world. So, do we really need to make it more busy for them? I think they have quite enough noise in their life right now. So, instead of us asking them to visit the Unlock website if you want to launch your smart contract without code, right? And then going to our tally to cast a vote, and then go to our Discord to have a conversation, and then go to our Telegram and to our Twitter to check out the news, and then go to our paragraph blog because what? You're not subscribed. I mean, that's insanity. And that's only one DAO I just exampled. So trying to keep it a little bit more closer to home, I think that could be a strategy for a lot of people to work on. And I know you can technically bind a lot of these protocol tools into your own stuff, but it's sometimes more complicated than actually building it yourself. So there's also an appeal maybe to the people who are building those tools. Make it really, really easy. You already know what the use cases are. Make it an SDK, make it easy for people to build it into their own websites and keep their community close. Don't make it a struggle to figure out where is the documentation, where is a framework that I could copy from GitHub and potentially use. right? I apologize to all the lovely people out there.
It's an honest assessment, and I think this is, it speaks to also what your expectations are going forward in the industry in terms of taking this serious and taking this to the next level, which is what we want, right? As builders in the industry, we want this to evolve and to be, better and elevate the conversation, which is what we always hoped the DAOs would enable. In terms of industry, looking more like horizontally, what's the one thing, one, not many, not two, one thing you feel we need to address right now to avoid working another 10, 20 years and then realizing that we didn't fix that one thing and we get back to square one? What's that one thing and why?
If I have to really say one thing, and I think you heard the sigh here, make it about your user. Don't make it about you. Don't make it about your investors. Don't make it about anything else. If you want to onboard the next million and you want them to understand all of this, make it about them. That's serious advice. Is that okay to say it like that?
That's yes, absolutely, absolutely. All answers are fair. I'm really just trying to kind of gauge your grasp to this. Now, this is also an industry that can be very taxing. There's a lot of FOMO, right? Fear of missing out, and you always have to be in the know. Like it's pretty intense, and it's 24/7, 365. Um, every week there's a new conference and there's a new announcement from like hundreds of projects, and you know now regulators are have a say on stuff we do and all that stuff. How do you keep yourself healthy, sane, and thriving? What's the recipe?
Well, again, blueprint, not sure if that exists, but for me, it's I do a lot more work than I should, same as everyone else in the space. But so far, I've never burned out. And I think the reason is that I'm acting very consciously. I know where are my limits. And when I see my limits on the horizon, I give in to them. And I'm like, okay, I guess this is it. This weekend, no computer. And then I stay off of this computer. I don't even go into this room, right? I sit downstairs, I read a book, I'm not on my iPad, I don't doom scroll somewhere, right? I'm on my book. I pet my little dogs, right? And I really try to make sure that I'm very conscious about this because I know this space is crazy in that sense. It really can take an arm and a leg from you if you don't protect yourself. And it's the same ask that the whole Web3 space opened to us, right? It's like you're now self responsible. That also means you are self responsible for your health, for your sanity, for everything that comes with it. I take, for example, every morning, I think this is a very German thing to do, by the way, but we have like second breakfast in Germany. So at around 10, usually blue collar work, is it white or blue collar workers? I don't know, but people who worked into, like my grandfather, he was someone who worked in the metal industry. So at 10 a.m., there's like this little snack break that they took, right? And I do that too. I have a fruit bowl, right? And then I make sure every day I eat my lunch at the same freaking time. If I have to, I'm blocking it out in my calendar. Then I'm using Meetwith, similar to Calendly, just better and Web3 anchored. And they have now these availability blocks that you can put in place. So for example, I'm really trying to make sure now that I'm on the steward council and I don't have a 7 days a week job with unlock, right? I'm really trying to make sure to section off my week. So Monday and Tuesday, talk to me all about unlock. Whatever you need, whatever you want, I will be there for you, but not on Wednesday, not on Thursday, and not on freaking Friday, right? These days are reserved for other things. So you have to be very disciplined, I feel, and be very friendly but straightforward about your availability. I make exceptions here and there when I think it makes sense, but I don't make them all the time because guess what? Then they stop being exceptions, and that's very unhealthy. So, yeah, maybe that could be some advice that helps some other people.
Love that. Love that. And for the people that are from your earlier life, pre crypto, pre DAO, the designers, what do you do to onboard them when they reach out to you saying, "Hey Stella, I really want to join crypto now. You've done great. I'm convinced. Bitcoin has a new all-time high." Usually is when the headlines hit that people realize that they're, oh my god, I'm really behind. How do you onboard them? What do you tell them? What's the welcome to crypto or welcome to DAO kit that you usually share with them?
It's very similar to what I do when people start getting interested to come and do stuff with us at Alana. I just ask them, what do you want? What's your intention in this, right? Like, why are you interested in Alana? Why are you interested in crypto? Doesn't matter. I ask them back, and I ask, like, what's your goal here, right? So if someone tells me, well, like, for example, I have a friend, she's really good with finances, so she was like, damn it, I think you were onto something. Maybe I need to start investing. I'm like, love where you're going with this, but also don't put everything into anything, right? So I really try to calm them down so they don't fall for the FOMO trap. That's another thing that I tend to do, because they're, like you said, they come in when the headlines strike, right? And like, I need to call Stella. I need to ask her how to do all of this, right? And so usually it depends on how close I am with people, but usually I take really a minute of time to make sure that I, show them a little bit of the ropes of what they are specifically interested in. And then the other thing is, obviously, I send them our blog. We have a blog with paragraph from the Alana Project, the Alana Newsflash. So I send that to them, and I'm like, look at some of these things. We're explaining the wording, or I'm giving them some articles specifically from that blog, depending on what they are interested in, so they understand how this works, right? Because it's not good enough to tell them, hey, open a wallet, go to Coinbase, buy this, right? Because the moment they have it, you can never know if they're losing it again, because they're actually not sure what they're doing there. And I don't want them to run into that, like, problem zone. Let's call it a problematic zone. So yeah, I try to be very easy on it and rather explore what they want to get out of it, because a lot of the designers in my former life, they're often more interested not directly in crypto, to be honest. They're very concerned about the current political situations in the world. So they want to understand, can this be a solution of some sorts? That's one interest that I hear a lot. The other one is that people are like, hey, I'm now in this digital space and I do digital art. Can I sell this somewhere? So last week I sent a friend of mine, I sent them a few different platforms, every platform with a light annotation saying, this is a centralized platform, but yes, you can post your art there. This is a decentralized platform. This will guarantee you will have ownership in forever. So I never just, send something without context. I very strongly, probably because I'm a designer, I believe in context.
What are you more hopeful for, most hopeful for going forward? We've seen the market change from very allergic to crypto in general to maybe too eager for crypto now, some would say. Um, what are you most hopeful for the next, say, 12, 18, 24 months in the industry?
You know what convinced me to join the Token Engineering Academy and go through all the trouble of doing all of their programs? They had a visual in their intro presentation, the crypto economic flower. And that crypto economic flower highlights, I think, 12 different fields of knowledge, right? And one of them, of course, is engineering, right? One of them, of course, is legal. But there is also all of these other fields, including psychology, including, sociology. So I think I'm very hopeful that in the hopefully nearer future, people in this space realize it cannot all be about finance. Finance is a driver, And I will never deny that. But it cannot be the only thing we're looking at, because the real world is eating itself up, because the only thing we started to care for is finance. If you only care for finance, then it's like every extreme system is eventually going to collapse. That's just how the world is built. It's not my fault. But if you look at history, whenever we went into one extreme, the world started to implode. Our society started to implode. So do we really want to continue in that space, or are we smart enough to see we have now these technologies that can actually combine all of these influences because they are automated, right? We do not just need to measure financial invest. We can measure contributions. We can measure how people interact with each other. We can actually do that, right? We are not limited anymore. And then we have AI. If we're looking more at decentralized AI, I would prefer it. But that aside, we have AIs that we can train, that can help us and assist us with our shortcomings in these processes or generating these processes. So let's use them for these type of things, not to automate the next financial agent to help us farm a little bit of yield.
Wow, many deep thoughts. Thank you for this. I'll probably have epiphanies about this in the months to come. Is there anything we should have touched on from your background, your journey, that you wish I had asked about?
Very overwhelming question. Especially because I enjoyed the conversation as you laid it out. No, not really. I'm, in a way, I mean, I think I want to assume you're doing this podcast because of your curiosity, like you stated in the beginning, right? And I also like to have these conversations with other people. Actually, there is a Twitter space that some of my friends run every Wednesday on Twitter. It's called Let's Talk DAOs. And it is exactly that type of conversations. Like I'm really more of a practical person. I like to execute, right, instead of just talking. But talking with other people in the space and sharing experiences, it definitely adds to one's own learnings. So I think that's I wish I could ask you questions back, if I'm going to be honest, but I see that can't be the case today.
I'll stop by the Let's Talk DAOs and we'll chat about it. But
That
yeah,
would be awesome.
awesome.
Yes.
Listen, Stella, thank you so much for joining us. How people can learn more about the work you do, get in touch with you? What's the path to you there?
Sure. Very simple. It's just my name, Stella Achenbach, on every single platform, I guess, that people could be on. I'm not active on Facebook, but yeah, on every single platform, you can usually reach me there. I think if it's a professional query, it would be good to do it via LinkedIn. I'm a little bit of an old school person in that way. I usually don't like to answer DMs on Discord or an X.
Stella, thank you so much. This is delicious. I love talking DAOs with you and hoping we can bump into each other at some event around the world.
Thank you.
Thank you. Catch us online. We're on Instagram at BlockDropsPodcast, on Twitter at BlockDropsPod or 0x Mauricio. We're on Lens at blockdrops.lens. We have a newsletter on LinkedIn. Write to us at blockdropspodcast@gmail.com, and you can listen to the Blockdrops podcast at Spotify, iColab, Faberbun Tech, and all of the other major streaming platforms. Yay! Shout out to Stella for sharing so much about her journey from fashion designer to DAO designer. Don't forget to leave the ratings on your favorite player and check out the merch store at blockdropspodcast.xyz. This is all for today. Stay rare, stay weird. LFG.